And a good day to everyone, and this will be another video from a match that was commentated by Grandmaster Xiangqi in his book A Decade of Battles in the A-League. And today the match that I have selected will be between Grandmaster Yinchuan and Grandmaster Yongzheng. So without further ado, we shall begin. A short introduction of the Grandmasters. Grandmaster Yinchuan has been introduced in an earlier video, and I won't go through with his achievements in this one. Grandmaster Yongzheng is from Shanghai. He's quite a young Grandmaster and was the 2011 Chinese National Individuals Champion. He has also been a team champion for the AXF and has won many other titles as an individual or in team championships. Grandmaster Yongzheng initially learned Xiangqi from Master Pu and was later introduced and was taught by Grandmaster Ronghua himself. And Grandmaster Yongzheng is one of the strongest Xiangqi competitors in the world today, and is one of the perennial top 10s on the scoreboard in China. Before we begin, I would like to give some background about the match. This match was held in 2003 in the first ever A-League championships in China. It was the 6th round, and Guangdong was the visiting team while Shanghai was the hosting team. Coming into this match, Grandmaster Yinchuan had already managed a 4-win 1-draw result, which was very impressive. And prior to this match, he had already won 3 of his matches. Black Yongzheng was had also quite a fine performance with a 2-win and 3-draw result, and both were undefeated coming into this round. And these two teams, the Guangdong team and the Shanghai team, were considered to be heavy favorites to win the entire tournament, and Shanghai did indeed win the tournament in the end. And so this was one of the matches that everybody was very interested in at the time. And at the end of the tournament in 2003, Grandmaster Yongzheng managed to become the second highest scorer on the scorer's board. So without further ado, let us see what went on in the match. Grandmaster Yinchuan started with the central cannon, and Grandmaster Yongzheng showed that he was not going to go down fighting and was prepared to do battle by playing the same direction cannons. Foul chariot, rank chariot, the proper horse variation, and so far the moves that have been played are considered to be orthodox, but it was at this time when Grandmaster Yongzheng played R9 equals to 6. To begin with, according to Grandmaster Xiangqi, who commentated on this match in his book, it was rare to see Grandmaster Yongzheng play the same direction cannons as black throughout his career. And faced with such a strong opponent in Grandmaster Yinchuan, not only did he play the same direction cannons, he also played a very rare and unorthodox move with R9 equals to 6. Usually the chariot would be developed as R9 equals to 4, whereby the chariot would place much pressure on red's left flank. And R9 equals to 6 is considered to be very unorthodox, but it showed that he had prepared well and was not going to go down fighting. And it was such bravery that allowed Grandmaster Sun to finally overcome Grandmaster Yinchuan at the end of the match. So Grandmaster Yinchuan continued with the double-headed snake pawns, whereby both horses will be developed, and Grandmaster Yongzheng played the double rank chariot variation. and so far so good. Black's double rank chariot is considered to be a very aggressive and proactive counter. It's quite an interesting position on the board now, and at this point in time, Grandmaster Yinchuan chose to push his cannon to the riverbank to control the riverbank and to develop. It showed that he had a very good sense of the board. Grandmaster Zhao Xinxin mentioned that when he was studying this variation, this position, he noticed that this position had been played also before. It was in the year 2000 when Grandmaster Xu Yinchuan, who played red again, took on Grandmaster Hu Ronghua, who happens to be Grandmaster Sun Yongzheng's sensei, and this position was also reached. At that time, Red had also played c8 plus 2, but in that match between Xu Yinchuan and Hu Ronghua, Grandmaster Hu Ronghua chose to play r4 plus 5, and it would be interesting to see what Grandmaster Sun Yongzheng had in mind before, what he had prepared before this match. So instead of r4 equals to 5, Grandmaster Sun Yongzheng played very aggressively by sacrificing his pawn so early in the game. And the idea or the strategy behind this move was very simple. Black would try to use his chariots, the mobility of the chariots, to try to gain the advantage, seize the advantage away from Red, whose opening is considered to be a slow but steady opening. And other than sacrificing the pawn, another move would be that with p3 plus 1, Red's plans of moving h3 plus 4 would not be able to be fulfilled. So from modern day opening theory, this move will be considered to be, as Grandmaster Zhao Xinxin put in his book, nonsensical. But it would seem that Grandmaster Sun had something up his sleeves and was ready to play outside of the book or outside of the usual opening lines. So after much consideration, Grandmaster Xu Yinchuan captured the pawn, and after a few rounds, when Red played c5 equals to 4, he was prepared to move c8 equals to 6, and if Black were to attack the pawn and the horse in the same file, Red would be prepared to play e7 plus 5, and Red would still have a very staunch and firm formation. But Black did not want Red to be able to move the elephant, and so he advanced his chariot. So the audience might wonder what would happen if Black had tried to play r6 equals to 3 immediately. So a possible line given by Grandmaster Zhao Xinxin was r6 equals to 3, e7 plus 5, and after capturing the red pawn, Red will retreat his cannon and be prepared to play c8 equals to 7 to attack the black elephant and chariot in the same file. So it would not be a good idea. This was perhaps the reason why Grandmaster Sun Yongzheng did not play r6 equals to 3 immediately. So as the match went on, capturing the central pawn was a continuation of Black's strategy to be aggressive. Black was trying to create some confusion on the board so that there will be chances for him to seize the initiative from Red. So one might wonder, would it be advisable for Black to capture the pawn now? So say with this move, Red will still retreat his cannon, and at this point in time, Red would have a very open position where he could do much damage. Black's centroid horse would still be a very big issue, whereby Black would have to find a way to deal with. So if Black captured the pawn, Red would still command the advantage, and that was why Black decided to capture the central pawn instead. So Red continued to retreat his cannon and was prepared to play c8 equals 7 for the skewer. And Black was very aggressive and chose to trade material instead. So as can be seen, this was just the 19th round in the game, and there was already much activity on the board. So Black demonstrated an unquenchable thirst for battle, while Red chose to play slowly but firmly. And because of Black's aggressive strategy, he chose to trade his chariot for Red's horse and cannon so very early in the game, which is usually not advised or not recommended. In this situation, Red could have played even more defensively with, for example, h4 minus 6 as commentated by Grandmaster Zhao. So after h4 minus 6, Red would still have a very nice formation. The red horse will be a major threat, and Red will start to develop his other chariot for attack. So h4 minus 6 will be a viable option in this situation. So at this point, the red pawn was threatening to capture the black cannon. So how did Grandmaster Yongzheng react? He played c2 equals to 4. Instead of this move, Black could also consider pushing the central pawn forward. So it will force Red to review what plans he might have in the match alone. So this was also a viable option according to Grandmaster Zhao. This move was made so that Black would not dare to capture the red cannon. And Red's chariots began to have their presence felt on the board. So Red will still be in control of the situation. While retreating the cannon would be a common sense move to make, Grandmaster Zhao suggested a very interesting option or variation with c4 plus 7. So let us see what would happen. And at this time, Black would have a slight material advantage, but the red chariots would be very powerful, and Red's defensive formation would be very stable. The addition of the presence of the red pawn across the river would also give Black a big headache. So this capturing the advisor with the cannon would also be a possible variation. So red retreated his cannon. Black could not capture the cannon, or red would simply capture the central cannon, and again material will be traded. So black continued to attack aggressively with h5 plus 3. Okay, and at this point, red chose to advance his elephant to the riverbank, and it would seem that by doing so, red would be able to gain some momentum. However, according to Grandmaster Zhao Xingxing, there was no need to make such a move, because by doing so, red would actually show black the direction of where the game might go, and black would have ample time to counter and defend. Instead, Grandmaster Zhao suggested h3 plus 2 instead of e9 plus 7, and by advancing the horse would be targeting black's biggest weakness on the board, the centroid horse, and when the horse crosses the river, it would be able to go for either an elbow horse attack or a pearl corner horse attack. So, for example, if red did not push his elephant to the riverbank, red could have done this, and if black retreated his chariot back to his pawn rank for defense, red could simply capture the edge pawn, and the presence of the red horse here would add a lot of pressure on black's left flank. So this was what Grandmaster Zhao suggested in his post-mortem analysis of the game. So after pushing e9 plus 7, black could defend in this manner. And while moving h3 plus 2 was suggested one move earlier, it was a blunder to do so at this point in time. And this, according to Grandmaster Zhao, this move would be very costly, and Grandmaster Yinchuan would have to pay a very big price. So after pushing the horse to the riverbank, red would have much trouble trying to control the situation on the board. And instead of doing so, perhaps r2 equals to 5 would have been better. And at this time, the black's horse would still not have moved, and would take at least 1 or 2 moves for development. And the number of pawns would be to red's advantage, and the red horse would have much room for maneuvering. So this was considered to be a huge advantage to red. So if you were to compare this position with the position later on, you will see that this was a very, very bad move. And since red played h3 plus 2, black was able to develop his horse, and once the black horse was taken care of, black's position suddenly became very open, and there was much space for development. And in comparison, the red chariot would be limited in movement, and the red horse would not be able to do much at this point. And traversing the pawn was to create a line of development for the red horse, so that if black played if black continued with h4 plus 6, red could push p3 plus 1, and there will be the extra option of trading horses, and releasing some of the threats that the black horse might have, or the trouble that it might create. Retreating the horse in this manner was a very good move, and it would not have been ideal for black to capture the pawn instead. By retreating the horse, black would be prepared to develop his horse with h1 plus 2 for an elbow horse attack, or threaten to capture the red pawn. So if black chose to capture the pawn instead, red would have managed to move his horse to a very favorable position, and both of his chariots would now be controlling the red files. And black would not want to trade chariots, because red would still have a chariot left, but black would not have any more chariots left. So this would also favor red to a certain extent. So that was why Grandmaster Sun Yongzheng retreated his horse. And Grandmaster Yinchuan chose to counter with r6 equals to 7. So an interesting question that one might ask: would it be possible for red to try to trade chariots with r2 equals to 4 at this point? So, and because the pawn had not moved, or the black horse had moved, black would now be prepared to attack with a elbow horse attack. So in this situation, it will be much more favorable for black. So this was another very important position in the match. As seen from the diagram, this can be seen, black pursued red's rather unobvious mistake of h3 plus 3 and managed to turn the tables in his favor. However, there was still some drama in the match. At this point, retreating the chariot would seem to be aggressive on the surface, but it would not do very much for black at this point in time. Instead, now would be the time for black to capture the red pawn. So as the match went on, black would slowly build on his advantage and could have a better, easier time ahead. Retreating the elephant would greatly resolve red's attack, and red's and the effort that black had put in his attack would be reduced to almost nothing. Luckily for black, he calmed down and began to reanalyze the situation in a calm manner, and decided to retreat his chariot to threaten both to capture the red pawn and also to limit the possibilities of the red horse. This signified a change in the strategy for black, as he chose to change the tempo of the game, and playing against a super grandmaster like Yinchuan, it would take nerves of steel for black to do so. So red's previous move r2 equals to 3 was played to allow him to continue with p3 equals to 4. So black saw through red's intentions and decided to play p4 equals to 5 as a counter. After much consideration, red decided to trade material, and hoping that the situation on the board would become calm again. It would seem that red was not interested in continuing fighting, and the match was very drawish and was about to end in a draw. However, if we were to analyze the situation on the board, although red had the pawn advantage, the number of the pawns is the same, but the red pawn was now a major threat on black's rank. Traversing the pawn in this manner showed that black was still intent on winning and wasn't going to allow the situation to become drawish so easily. So it was quite a impressive for it was quite displayed much mettle from the young Grandmaster. If black chose to capture the red pawn with e5 plus 7, the situation would become very drawish and most probably it would end in a draw. And red started his attack, and black chose to play very aggressively with r5 equals to 3. If we were to see the situation on the board, this move was considered to be a blunder by Grandmaster Yinchuan. Up till this day, many Xiangqi masters, etc., were still perplexed by the reason or the motives for making this move. Grandmaster Yinchuan was renowned for his super cautious play and his very deep endgame skills, and he had also had good form coming into the match, but this blunder was simply inexcusable. Was it because of the time trouble, or maybe there were other reasons that nobody knew? But Grandmaster Zhao Xinxin commented that Grandmaster Xi must not have thought clearly at that point in time. In Grandmaster Sun Yongzheng's own analysis, he also had a very detailed explanation. He suggested that red should have played e7 plus 9 instead, and everything would still be fine. And according to Grandmaster Sun Yongzheng himself, he was prepared to play r3 equals to 2 followed by r2 minus 2 to get rid of the pesky red pawn. So although black would still have the advantage, red would still have a very playable game should e7 plus 9 have been played. However, after making this move, the match would be over very soon. Check. Check. And red resigned. If red continued with k5 plus 1, black would answer with r3 minus 4, and red would still lose his chariot. So Grandmaster Sun Yongzheng was very ecstatic when Grandmaster Yinchuan resigned, because according to him, it was a gift from the heavens that I was able to defeat Grandmaster Xi. These were the words that Grandmaster Sun wrote in his autobiography and also the commentary for this match. He said that as a player in this era, it was simply an honor to play against Grandmaster Yinchuan, and it was more of a learning experience than a match itself. And after this crucial win, the Shanghai team was able to defeat the Guangdong team in the 6th round, and later it will become a very important factor when the Shanghai team finally won the entire tournament. So this blunder of r6 equals to 8 had very, very, very far-reaching implications. Okay, for beginners, I shall have a simple explanation on why Grandmaster Xi resigned. So after making this move, the black king will be safe from any possible elbow horse attack by red. And black was prepared to play r3 -1 to capture the red chariot. So, for example, if red played k5 equals to 1 to try to move his chariot to safety, black would retreat his chariot r3 -4 to the cross riverbank rank, and black would be prepared to move r3 equals to 8, followed by r8 plus 3 for a checkmate. So at this point, if red decided to retreat his king again, black could move as intended. If red tried to protect his chariot again, black could deliver a check, and no matter where the king moved, red would capture the red chariot. And black would have an overwhelming material superiority in the match. So this match does show us that Grandmaster Yinchuan is still human and makes mistakes like all humans do. And it was really a gift from heaven to the Shanghai team. And I hope you have enjoyed this match, and if you like my channel, please subscribe. Thank you and have a good weekend.